Greetings, family. Let me know if you can, let me know if we are back. Let me know if we are back.
Well, DJ Mr. P is on. Or the chat. Okay. Okay, can hear you and see you. Thank you, DJ Mr. P.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I mean, you know, dear family, really things beyond our control as usual with the internet situation. Let's hope that we can get to the end where we are at the present time. So, brothers and sisters, the Soviet Union and China are believed to have suffered the most total casualties, while an estimated 5,800,000 Polish people died. Okay, 5,800,000. I just want you to put that the context when you think about the British casualties that we just talked about a minute ago, which represents about 20% of Poland's pre-war population. So they lost 20% of their pre-war population. About 4,200,000 Germans died, and about 1,972,000 Japanese died. And obviously that includes those who died under the atom bombs of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Okay, which is about 150,000 each time when they dropped those two bombs, but they literally they lost 1,972,000 dead. This is the Japanese. World War II losses of the Soviet Union or Russian people from all related causes were about 27 million. I wonder if we appreciate that Britain and America and all of the so-called allied forces, they could never have won that war without the help of the Russians, who took the bulk of the losses, and they were the ones who were invaded by the Germans and had German tanks coming into their major cities and, you know, Leningrad and all these places, whereas, you know, Britain didn't suffer a German invasion. They got some bombings from the Luftwaffe. They had some V2 bombers come over, some rockets that were fired. But in reality, the Russians really suffered big time. World War II losses of the Soviet Union or Russian people from all related causes were about 27 million, both civilian and military, although exact figures are disputed. A figure of 20 million was considered official during the Soviet era, even though some estimates go as high as 30 million people lost during that war, brothers and sisters. You know, we're talking about huge numbers of losses. And again, remember, we're going back now into the 40s. Okay, the weapons were sophisticated, but not like today. So I'm giving you these figures to give you an idea of what's on the horizon in the event of the War of Armageddon really taking root, and this Third World War really being the war to end all wars. China is estimated to have endured the second highest number of total casualties in World War II. As many as 20 million people died in China. I mean, think about it, 20 million people died in China, including up to 3.75 million military deaths and 18.19 million civilian deaths. That count includes hundreds of thousands of deaths due to drowning, disease, and starvation after the Chinese nationalist army breached massive holes in dikes. So this is what the Chinese army themselves did. They put holes in these dikes holding back the Yellow River to stymie the Japanese advance in 1938, because the Japanese were fighting on the side of the Germans against the Chinese. They used that as an opportunity to really go in hard on their Chinese neighbors. Dear family, we are talking about war fever and what potentially is coming on our planet, what has already started, but what is coming. Dear family, more than 380,000 African Americans served in the army during World War I. And again, you got to go back and think about the condition of Black people during that time and how we were living and the racism that we were facing, and then literally going into the military and the racism that we faced in the military. The very side that we were fighting for, according to some of the stories I heard, you could have German and American or British officers who would show each other maximum respect during the war, and at times they would even share a canteen if they were prisoners of war, whatever. But the Black soldiers who were fighting on the side of the Americans or fighting on the side of the British found themselves having to find separate quarters and, being discriminated against even within the military that they were fighting for. This is the reality. More than 380,000 African Americans served in the army during World War I. According to the National Archives, about 200,000 were sent to Europe. Over 16,000 BAME, this is Black and minority ethnic. This is how they classify us.
And majority.
Exactly, Black and majority.
Yeah.
I don't know about this ethnic nonsense, but this is one of the tricks that many of us have fallen for, allowing them to call us BAME, Black and minority ethnic. Dear family, we are Black, yes, thank you very much for acknowledging that reality, and we're very proud to be Black. We are Black and we're beautiful, we're Black and powerful. But we're certain, and we are the majority.
That's right.
Okay, not no minority. No. And we are certainly not ethnic, where the root of that is heathen or non-believers. No, we are not accepting your labels. But over 16,000 of us volunteered, enlisted in the British Armed Forces, the majority from Jamaica, and serving on Europe's Western Front. That Western Front is where we went to die, in those trenches in East Africa and also the so-called Middle East. In all, about 2,350,000 Africans were mobilized between 1914 and 1918. Think about it, man. These Black people, nothing to do with us, but there we are in the war zones, fighting.
For people who don't even like
fighting for people who hate our guts.
Right.
To participate on both sides, by the way. The Germans had some colonies on the continent of Africa, and they didn't have as many of us fighting on their side, but they certainly had some of us fighting on their side as well. Go ahead.
Yes, Brother Victor says, we cannot fathom the wickedness of this demon. They just love war. They fight even just watching sports.
That's right.
In the House of Parliament after they've had a beer in the name of socializing. That's so right. True.
That's right. That's right. It's their nature. It's their propensity. It's their way. They can't help themselves. And when they're not, you see, when they're focused on fighting us, they will unite to fight us. But understand this, when they haven't got us as an enemy, they go to war against each other. See, because they, you know, we think that these Europeans love one another. No, dear family. Again, remember, these were European tribal wars that they spread to the entire human family. Okay, dear family, over 250,000 soldiers and carriers, as well as approximately 750,000 civilians perished in this war effort. These are Black people, okay? These are Black people. We fought, we bled, and we died for a freedom that the vast majority of us have yet to see. Unfortunately, Africans have been grossly underrepresented in official histories of World War II. Again, you got to think about this, okay? Think about some of the statistics that we've shared thus far and how widely they vary, because during these types of wars where there's mass killing, they have difficulty counting their own dead, much less the Africans, the Blacks, who they deliberately would not count our dead, would not even bother on many occasions to even chronicle our dead or injured. And so, believe me, these figures that we are sharing with you are some of the widely accepted figures, but they're not by any stretch of the imagination something that we can claim to be accurate, because a lot of our statistics were not properly recorded. And so I say again, unfortunately, Africans have been grossly underrepresented in official histories of World War II. So while many went underpaid, more have been forgotten altogether. From 1939 to 1945, some 15,000 African soldiers lost their lives fighting for Britain, okay? So, you know, we've paid our dues, okay? For those of us who are here and, you know, we fall for this hype when they try to tell us, oh, you know, get out or go back where you came from. No, we spilt our blood, and we have every right to be here. In fact, we were the first here. That's another story. That's another show that we will do. We'll go back into the history and show you with absolute proof that, you know, if anybody needs to leave, it's the Caucasians. It's not the original people. It's not the Black man and Black woman. During World War II, more than 2.5 million African-American men registered for the draft, and African-American women volunteered in large numbers. When combined with Black women enlisted into Women's Army Corps, more than 1 million African-Americans served in the army during the war. And finally, their family, all told, about 4,500,000 Africans were mobilized during the world wars, and about 2 million people, more than half of them who were civilians, likely died. All right, so don't let anybody fool you into thinking that we didn't shed our blood and die big time in these European tribal wars. Dear family, I hope everybody's good. I hope you are following what we are sharing with you this evening on the Imagination Show. And before we close out this evening, I just wanted to show you something else that I thought, you know, again, because we talk about the Cold War, and that Cold War is something that they practice, and they fly their flags, and they build up armaments, and they threaten one another, and they do all manner of hijinks, maneuvering, spying, and other things that they do to try to undermine each other's nations. That's what they call a Cold War. So they're at war, but it's a lot of diplomacy or duplicity double speak and all manner of trickery that goes on during that process. But at a certain point in time, like what is happening right now in Ukraine, it turns into a hot war. And this is what we should be very mindful of, dear family, because again, you know, we need to know what a hot war looks like, what a hot war potentially feels like, because it's, again, the modern weapons of war. I'm only showing you really just one type of weapon right now. I mean, I was going to show you some of the warplanes and some of the other weapons of mass destruction that these people have, but I'm just showing you some of the multiple rocket launchers that they're using now on the battlefields in Ukraine. These are some of the types of weapons that America and Britain have been sending to Ukraine, and that the Russians themselves have these in abundance. I think this is mostly Russian weaponry that you'll be witnessing here, or at least some of it is. Why the sound is messed up like that. I just wanted to give you an impression, the type of reality of modern warfare and what's coming. Just imagine, dear, brothers and sisters, these things when they are targeted at residential and city dwellings, then they're targeted in urban environments where people live. Mostly, these would be war crimes, but in reality, at a certain point during war, all the rules go out the window, and where they're supposed to be targeting military personnel, only military facilities, very quickly you find that those considerations are lost. Some of these countries, some of these nations during war, they actually put their military hardware in and amongst civilians, making them human slaves. If they detect a rocket coming out of or civilian area, whatever, they're going to shoot right back into that place, regardless of whether it's a kindergarten, a hospital, whatever the case may be. So, this is the reality of the modern warfare and what we should be aware of. They have taken war to a very sophisticated level of destructiveness. Okay, and not just the Europeans, but the Chinese and all of the nations have their militaries. The only ones who have any kind of really substandard military are probably the African nations who get all of their weapons of a substandard nature from the West or from China or from Russia. But we haven't got the most sophisticated weapons. We haven't got, anything that can compete with these European nations or the Chinese or the Russians. But in truth, dear family, we don't need such weapons. What we need is to put on the full armor of Almighty God. And I'm not talking again about no spook God floating around in the sky. You just need to know that a black man is God, that there is a black God, and that we in fact have the most sophisticated weapon of war right now in the universe. And it has a lot to do with those wheels above our heads. And we're going to go into the wheels again in the near future, because we need to let our people know that we don't need to walk in fear. We don't need to be afraid and cowardly in the face of all of this destruction and warmongering. We just need to know that, one, we need to unite. Two, we need to separate ourselves. We need to separate ourselves from our open enemies and their family. We need to embrace our nature. We need to embrace our true selves, our true character. We need to go back to our God. And so, dear family, I thank you so much for bearing with us this evening and for getting through the show. Thank you so much for patronizing the Imagination team of myself and Sister Claudia. And we look forward to coming to you again, live and direct, same time, same place next week, inshallah, God willing. Thank you, Sister Claudia. Is there anything, any notices that you want to read out before we depart?
Just to say thank you all once again for tuning in. We really appreciate your time. Once again, happy Saviour's Day to all of you. Make sure you tune in to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Events actually start tomorrow, so tune in. I know the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan will be speaking to the youth. So
Tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow. Okay. Friday, yes,
tomorrow. Is it a youth summit?
Yes, a youth summit.
Fantastic.
The youth are at war.
Fantastic.
And so try and tune in to that. There's Jummah prayer. There's lots of activities to tune in, but don't forget the main event, Sunday, the 26th of February, 2 p.m. Central. Is that
Central? That's yeah. In the States, right?
I don't want to say the wrong time for us.
Yeah.
But 2 p.m. Central.
Yeah.
Is that 8 o'clock our time?
It's probably around there.
Yeah, but tune in, everyone. Thank you once again. And always remember what the Holy Quran says. They plan and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. So whatever we see happening in the world today is all by the permission of God. He's allowing it. We just have to be patient. We have to be of the righteous and try and survive and get through, and then we will see the hereafter on earth here.
That's right. And again, remember what Sister just said. The hereafter is not a place up in the sky.
No.
The hereafter is not after we are dead.
That's right.
The hereafter is here, right here, after the power of Satan has been destroyed.
That's right.
And then we build a brand new reality for ourselves right here on this earth. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Dear beloved family, may the Creator bless you and keep you safe. Until next time, once again, we want to greet you in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.